We are only 1 month into 2026 and WWE already has a whole new set of champions. Drew McIntyre is the WWE champion, Rhea Ripley and Io Sky are the women's tag champions, Carmelo Hayes is the men's US champion, and just recently the MFTs are the WWE tag team champions. And all of this begs the question, who is gonna dethrone each of them? Let's speculate. I'm Brandon, this is Wrestling Talk, and today I will be predicting who will dethrone every current WWE champion. Just sticking to the main roster though, because I don't really watch NXT. So without further ado, let's get started. Who will dethrone the MFTs as the WWE Tag Team Champions? It's shocking to say that only a year ago, the men's tag division on SmackDown was stacked. DIY, Motor City Machine Guns, Street Profits, Fraxium, Rey and Andrade. You had so many teams who were putting on absolute bangers. Fast forward to now though, and that tag scene has been pretty much decimated. Rey and Andrade aren't a thing anymore, DIY's not a thing anymore, Motor City Machine Guns and Street Profits have been off TV for God knows how long, and Fraxium is absolutely cold as ice. So when it comes to who can feasibly dethrone the MFTs, honestly, I think it has to be the same team they took the titles from in the first place, and that's the Wyatt Six. I wish I could say anyone else, but given the current state of the tag division on SmackDown, by default, it kinda has to be the Wyatts. And also, given what's been going on with their feud with the Lantern and all that, this story wouldn't be narratively satisfying unless the Wyatts got the titles back from the MFTs. So I don't know when or where it's gonna happen, but eventually I think the Wyatts are just gonna get the titles back. Who will dethrone the Usos as the World Tag Team Champions? To me, there are only two options. The more exciting option is the Lucha Bros, Penta and Rey Fenix. But given that Rey Fenix is on SmackDown and I don't see him coming over to Raw anytime soon, we can basically cross out that option, which leaves the more boring option, and that is the Vision. Specifically, Bronson Reed and Austin Theory. Braun Breaker is going to be going after the world title for the foreseeable future, and Logan Paul is just too big of a star to be going after the tag titles with either Theory or Bronson. I think Logan is more likely to go after the Intercontinental title or even the world title. So by default, Bronson and Theory are the guys. And it makes sense, you want to deck the Vision out with gold at some point this year. Braun Breaker with the world title, maybe Logan Paul with the IC title, and then Bronson and Theory with the tag titles. Is it boring and kind of predictable? Yeah, but I don't see any other options. Hopefully though, whenever this happens, it will lead to an actual Jey Uso crash out, because that is the most interesting thing that can possibly come out of this title reign. Who will dethrone Rhea Ripley and Io Sky as the women's tag team champions? So prediction time. When we get to the Elimination Chamber in Chicago, the women's chamber match is not going to be for a world title shot. It's going to be 6 teams competing for the women's tag team championships. Rio, Charlexa, the Kabuki Warriors, Judgment Day, Bayley and Lyra, and Nia and Lash. I think that is the perfect place for Rio to drop the titles, so that going into WrestleMania, Rhea and Io can do something else, potentially face each other, to see if Rhea Ripley can finally get a win over Io Sky. And then that would leave the rest of the women's tag division to face off at WrestleMania. Now going into WrestleMania, I feel like you want a heel team holding the championships, just so we can really be rooting for whoever the babyface team is, which is why I have Nia Jax and Lash Legend dethroning Rio at the Elimination Chamber in what will probably be a very protected loss for them, just given all of the chaos and shenanigans that go on in the chamber match. And then come WrestleMania, I think Bayley and Lyra Valkyria are gonna dethrone Nia and Lash. Calling it now, that's gonna be the path. Who is going to dethrone Julia as the Women's United States Champion? I've been saying it for a while now that at some point Jordynne Grace would get moved up to SmackDown, and that is when she would win the Women's US title. Well, now she's on SmackDown, so I'm just gonna stick with that. Currently, she's feuding with Jade Cargill for the world title. Obviously, she's gonna lose that, and once she does, I think she's gonna go right down to the mid-card division and take the US title from Julia, hopefully elevating it. And then after that, Julia can just go off to do something else. If I was booking, I would turn her face, because when she was a face in NXT, it was really working. But ever since she turned heel on the main roster, it's just not. Who's gonna dethrone Carmelo Hayes as the Men's United States Champion? It's an easy answer, but I'm gonna go with Trick Williams. These two had a huge rivalry down in NXT, and now both of them are on the main roster. One's a heel, one's a babyface. I don't see Trick Williams winning the world title anytime soon, but the US title, absolutely. So I think Trick Williams beats Carmelo Hayes for the title, and then hopefully it'll lead to a huge feud between them on the main roster. Who's gonna dethrone Becky Lynch as the Women's Intercontinental Champion? Alright, so the obvious answer is AJ Lee. The two of them are gonna have a match at WrestleMania. It's basically confirmed at this point. However, keep in mind, AJ Lee has made Becky Lynch look like an absolute wimp this entire feud. She made her tap out at WrestlePalooza, Survivor Series. So if AJ Lee gets the win over Becky Lynch at WrestleMania in her first singles match in years, Becky Lynch is gonna come off looking terrible. Not to mention, this isn't for the world title, this is for the Intercontinental title, what many call the Workhorse Championship. And AJ Lee is not a full-time wrestler. She's on that Roman Reigns, Brock Lesnar part-time schedule, which is awesome. I don't think every superstar needs to be 100% full-time, but I just don't see WWE putting a Workhorse title on a part-timer. However, on the other side, who else is there on Raw for Becky Lynch to elevate? She did it with Lyra Valkyria and Maxine Dupree. The rest of the people on Raw who could use the Intercontinental title are all heels. So we find ourselves in a bit of a predicament. But I think I have the solution. Even though she's beaten Becky Lynch a bunch of times already, I think at WrestleMania 42, AJ Lee beats Becky Lynch for the Intercontinental Championship. However, the next night on Raw, AJ Lee hosts her first open challenge for the Intercontinental Championship. And who answers? Roxanne Perez. And then, thanks to some help from the Judgment Day, Roxanne Perez beats AJ Lee on the Raw after WrestleMania. To me, that is the perfect solution. AJ gets a big win at WrestleMania, Becky is now free to do something else, maybe go after the world title, and then we still have a full-time IC champion. Did I cook or did I cook? Who is going to dethrone Dominic Mysterio as the Men's Intercontinental Champion? For a while, I thought it was going to be Finn Balor if he turned babyface, but at this point, that's not gonna happen. So I think whoever dethrones Dom needs to be someone who will use the IC title as a stepping stool to the world title, which is why my pick is LA Knight. Yeah! Now I know what you're thinking, LA Knight doesn't need the IC title, he needs the world title. But let's be realists. CM Punk, Braun Breaker, and Seth Rollins are going to be circling that world title till at least SummerSlam, meaning LA Knight is gonna need something interesting to do till at least then. So I think either before or after WrestleMania, LA Knight dethrones Dominic Mysterio for the IC title, and then at WrestleMania he defeats a returning Chris Jericho. I think those are two huge things LA Knight can do just to keep him occupied until probably Money in the Bank in September. Who is going to dethrone Jade Cargill as the WWE Women's Champion? It's Bianca Belair, obviously. It's always been Bianca Belair. I don't see it being anyone else. If Jade Cargill faces Charlotte Flair, Alexa Bliss, Tiffany Stratton again, I think she beats all of them. The only candidate to defeat her is Bianca Belair. And I think the perfect place to do it is at WrestleMania. Sure, you could have Jade win at WrestleMania just to make her look strong on the biggest stage, and then have Bianca win at a later date, but in my opinion, I think Bianca needs another huge win at WrestleMania. It's been too long, so I think Bianca dethrones Jade, and I think it happens at WrestleMania. Who is gonna dethrone Stephanie Vaquer for the Women's World Championship? Now, the popular choice is obviously Liv Morgan, because I do think the WrestleMania match is going to be Liv versus Stephanie. However, given the Judgment Day of it all, I don't see Liv winning at WrestleMania, mainly due to Raquel Rodriguez. Call it jealousy, call it betrayal, but I think come WrestleMania, we're gonna see the Judgment Day kinda collapse. And I think Raquel Rodriguez is going to cost Liv Morgan the victory, whether that's by a direct interference and a heel turn, even though she's already a heel, or just by accident. Because keep in mind, Liv Morgan had a world title reign that lasted the majority of 2024. I know we're in 2026 now, but I honestly don't see WWE putting the title on Liv Morgan again. I think the more interesting thing to do with her after WrestleMania is a feud with Raquel Rodriguez. So if Stephanie Vaquer retains at WrestleMania, who dethrones her? You're all gonna hate me, but my pick is Becky Lynch. Because if she loses the IC title at WrestleMania to AJ Lee, the obvious next step for her is to go up to the world title. Becky Lynch is on fire right now. I think she's doing some of the best work of her entire career. And keep in mind, no one, and I mean no one, is better at elevating talent in the women's division than Becky Lynch. Look at Lyra Valkyria, Maxine Dupree, Bianca Belair, Tiffany Stratton. Becky Lynch knows how to put people over. So if she beats Stephanie Vaquer for the world title at, let's say, Backlash, I could absolutely see Stephanie Vaquer getting the title back a few months later, and in that process, her and Becky can have an actual feud. Again, I know it's not the popular choice, but if Stephanie beats Liv at WrestleMania, I think it's the most realistic. Who's gonna dethrone CM Punk for the World Heavyweight Championship? There's a lot of names you could throw out there, Roman Reigns, Logan Paul, but at the end of the day, as boring as it is, it's gonna be Braun Breaker. Whether he wins the Rumble or the Chamber, Braun Breaker is on a collision course for that world title. Even if Seth Rollins comes back and leads Braun Breaker on a bit of a detour, I still think all roads lead to Braun Breaker taking that title off of CM Punk. I think it's boring and predictable. It honestly reminds me of WrestleMania last year with Gunther versus Jay, but knowing how WWE books certain storylines, I just think this is what's gonna happen. And finally, who's gonna dethrone Drew McIntyre as the WWE Undisputed Champion? To me, there are 4 options: Randy Orton, Jacob Fatu, Roman Reigns, and Cody Rhodes. Now, Jacob Fatu is not really after the title. His story is about finding out who the hell attacked him. And spoiler alert, I think it's Randy Orton. So because of that, I think the two of them are going to get involved in their own program leading up to WrestleMania, assuming WWE reveals who attacked Jacob before then, which I feel like they have to. So that leaves Cody and Roman. If we get Roman versus Drew, whether that's at WrestleMania or wherever, I think Drew absolutely wins that match and gets some revenge for Clash at the Castle. So by process of elimination, the answer's Cody Rhodes. As boring as that is, I think that's what WWE is gonna go with. Because keep in mind, Drew McIntyre burned a photo of Cody and his father in front of him and then took his title. So if Cody doesn't get his win back, it kind of makes him look weak. Like Drew just came in, destroyed his life, and then said peace. And again, to me, that's interesting storytelling, but I don't think that's how WWE is going to treat their face of the company. So at the end of the day, whether it's WrestleMania or wherever, Cody Rhodes will get that title back from Drew McIntyre. But that's it. Those are my picks to dethrone every current WWE champion. What did you think? Comment below, let me know, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.